I am watching my mother walk toward the kitchen for the third time tonight, and I don't say anything. I'm sitting on the couch with my laptop balanced on a pillow, pretending to work on the quarterly vendor reports that were due yesterday. And I watch her get up from the recliner where she'd been watching a cooking competition show, and she walks toward the kitchen without saying a word. And I don't ask where she's going because I already know she won't answer in a way that makes sense. She'll say she thought she heard the timer, or she'll say she needs water, or she'll say nothing at all and come back 90 seconds later and sit down and pick up the remote as if she never left. It's 10:47 p.m. on a Wednesday in March, and I have been living in my mother's house for 6 weeks because she can't afford the heating bill alone, and I can't afford rent anywhere else since Data Vault laid off the entire regional support team in January. I am 34 years old. My bedroom is the one I slept in during high school, still painted the dark green I chose when I was 16. My mother is 61 and moves through this house like it's a body she's been wearing so long she doesn't notice it anymore. The kitchen light is already on. I can see the rectangle of it falling across the hallway carpet from where I'm sitting. I hear her footsteps stop. I hear nothing for maybe 15 seconds. Then she comes back, sits down, picks up the remote, increases the volume by 2 notches. "You okay?" I ask. "Mm-hmm." The cooking show continues. Someone is making a deconstructed pavlova, and the judges are pretending to be impressed. I go back to the vendor spreadsheet. I type a number into the wrong cell and have to undo it. The house makes the sound it always makes at this hour, the baseboards ticking as the heat cycles down, the refrigerator compressor humming its 10-minute intervals, the bathroom faucet dripping in a rhythm I keep meaning to fix. My mother gets up again at 11:12. This time I watch more carefully. She doesn't look at me. She doesn't announce anything. She stands from the recliner with that particular middle-aged effort, hands pressing the armrests, a small exhaled breath, and walks toward the hall. The kitchen light is already on because neither of us turned it off after the last time. I watch her disappear around the corner. I hear her footsteps on the linoleum. 3, 4, 5, 6, and then they stop. I wait. The cooking show goes to commercial. A pharmaceutical ad starts playing. Cheerful people walking golden retrievers through autumn parks, while a narrator lists the ways the drug might kill them. I realize I've been counting seconds. I'm at 23. "Mom?" "Nothing. Mom, you good? Just getting water," she calls back. Her voice sounds exactly normal. Exactly like her. I hear the cabinet open. The faucet runs. I hear her drink. The faucet stops. The cabinet closes. She comes back down the hall and sits in the recliner. She doesn't have a glass with her. I don't mention it. I don't know why I don't mention it. We watch the rest of the show. Someone gets eliminated. My mother says, "Oh, that's too bad," in a voice that suggests she means it. At 11:40, she tells me goodnight, and I hear her climb the stairs. Her bedroom door closes. The house settles into the sounds it makes when only one person is awake in it. I work on the spreadsheet for another hour. I'm applying for a contract position with a logistics company in Harrisburg, and they want a demonstrated portfolio of process documentation, which apparently means I need to fabricate evidence that my previous work was more impressive than it was. It's soul-deadening work, the kind that makes you feel like you're building a version of yourself that doesn't exist for people who won't care. At 12:50, I get up to make tea. I walk down the hall. I enter the kitchen. The overhead light is still on. The fluorescent panel that flickers once when you first switch it on before stabilizing into its cold, flat wash. The kitchen is empty. The counter is clean. The dish rack holds 3 plates and 2 mugs from dinner. The window above the sink reflects my face back at me. Just my face. Just the kitchen behind me. The faucet drips. I fill the kettle. I wait for it to boil. While I'm waiting, I notice that the kitchen table, the small one pushed against the wall with 2 chairs, has been pulled out slightly, maybe 4 inches from its normal position against the wall. The chair on the far side, the one facing the window, is angled as if someone recently sat in it and pushed back without tucking it in. My mother sat at that chair for dinner. But dinner was at 6:30, and I cleared the table myself. I pushed both chairs in. I remember this because I remember thinking about how my mother used to yell at me as a kid for not punching my air in. And now I do it automatically, every time. One of those parental installations that outlives the context that created it. The chair is pulled out now. I push it back in. I make my tea. I turn off the kitchen light for the first time all night and walk back to the living room in the dark. The hallway feels longer in the dark. It always has. Even when I was a kid, this hallway felt like it added distance at night. The bathroom on the left, the coat closet on the right, the kitchen at the end. Like a destination you weren't sure you'd chosen. I sleep poorly that night. The house makes sounds I can technically explain. Thermal contraction, the wind against the aluminum siding, a branch touching the gutter, but the sounds feel organized in a way I can't ignore. Like there's a rhythm to them that only becomes apparent when you're trying not to listen. I need to contextualize something before I continue, because what happens over the next several weeks doesn't make sense without understanding the shape of my mother's life in this house. She moved here in 1994 with my father. I was 2. My sister Carla was 4. It's a 3-bedroom Cape Cod in Waterville, which is technically a borough of about 4,000 people in central Pennsylvania, between 2 larger towns that are themselves not large. My father drove trucks for a regional freight company and was gone 3-4 days a week. He was not a bad man. He was not a particularly present one. He died in 2019, pancreatic, fast, and my mother has lived here alone since then. Carla lives in Phoenix with her husband and doesn't visit. This is not a estrangement. They talk every Sunday, but it's a distance that has become structural. When I moved back in January, Carla sent me a text that said, "Thank you for being there. I know it's not easy," and nothing more about it since then. My mother's daily life before I arrived consisted of waking at 6:15, watching morning news, walking to the post office regardless of whether she expected mail, coming home, cleaning something, watching television, cooking dinner for one, watching more television, going to bed. She has 2 friends, Patty, who she sees at church on Sundays, and Donna, who calls on Tuesdays. She does not appear depressed. She does not appear lonely in a way that seems acute. She appears to have reached an equilibrium with solitude that is neither contentment nor suffering, but something flatter than either. When I moved back, she rearranged the guest room, my old room. Without my asking, she bought new towels. She cooked for 2 again and seemed genuinely pleased by the proportional change. She didn't ask me about the job or the money or how long I'd be staying, which I read as either generosity or avoidance and chose not to determine which. We coexist well. We have always coexisted well, my mother and I. We are both people who can occupy the same space without demanding constant proof of the other's awareness. This is a comfort. It's also, I'm now realizing, a condition that makes certain things easy to miss. The kitchen thing becomes a pattern I track without deciding to track it. Over the next 5 days, I notice my mother getting up and walking to the kitchen between 10 and 13 times per evening, starting around 9 p.m., ending only when she goes to bed. Most of these trips have a surface explanation: water, checking the stove, getting a snack, looking for something. But the frequency is wrong. And each trip follows the same structure. She stands. She walks without announcing. She enters the kitchen. There's a silence of 10 to 30 seconds, and then she either performs the announced task or simply returns. I start paying attention to what she does during the silence. On Thursday, I get up and follow her. Not aggressively. I wait until she's in the kitchen and then walk to the hallway and look. She's standing at the sink, facing the window, not running the water, not reaching for anything, just standing there. Her hands are at her sides. Her head is slightly tilted, the way you tilt when you're listening to something faint. "Mom?" she turns. "Oh, you startled me. I thought I left the burner on." She hadn't been looking at the stove. She'd been facing the window. But I say, "Okay," and go back to the couch, because what else do you say? On Saturday, I'm already in the kitchen when she comes in. I'm microwaving leftover chili at 9:45 p.m. She walks in and seems mildly surprised to see me there, which shouldn't make sense, because the microwave is audibly running and the light is on. She pauses in the doorway. Her expression does something subtle, a flattening, like a screen refreshing, and then she smiles and says, "Oh, good. I was going to have some of that too." She makes a bowl. We eat together at the table. It's fine. It's normal. But I notice she keeps glancing at the window above the sink. It's dark outside. The window reflects the kitchen back at us. There is nothing to see through it except the side of Mrs. Henderson's house, 4 feet away, and the narrow strip of weedy ground between. "What are you looking at?" I ask, casually, like it's a joke almost. "Nothing, just spaced out." We finish eating. She washes both bowls. She stands at the sink a moment too long. Then she dries her hands on the towel that hangs from the oven handle and says good night and goes upstairs. It's 05 p.m. She never goes to bed before 11. She's been going to bed progressively earlier each night this week. On Monday, I have a phone interview with the logistics company. It goes badly. They want someone who can start on site immediately, and I explain that I'd need to commute from Waterville, which is 90 minutes each way. And the interviewer makes a sound that means this conversation is already over. Afterward, I sit in my car in the driveway for 20 minutes because I don't want to go inside and have my mother ask how it went with that careful, encouraging tone that would make me feel worse. When I come in, she's in the kitchen. It's 2:30 in the afternoon. She's sitting at the table in the chair that faces the window, the one I keep pushing in, the one that keeps being pulled out, and she's holding a mug of tea that I can tell from the doorway has gone cold because there's no steam and the surface has that flat, still quality that liquid gets when it's been sitting. "Hey," as she looks at me, and her face does the refresh thing again. that flattening. Like I've interrupted a signal and she needs a half second to switch channels. "Oh, hi, honey. How'd it go?" "Fine. Probably not the right fit." "Something will come along." She says this without conviction, not pessimistically, just automatically. The way you produce a phrase you've said so many times is it no longer requires belief. She gets up from the chair. She dumps the cold tea in the sink. She goes to the living room and turns on the television. I sit at the table where she was sitting, in the chair facing the window. From this angle I can see the window itself, reflecting the kitchen faintly. Through the glass, the narrow alley between our house and Mrs. Henderson's. Mrs. Henderson's brick wall, close enough to touch if you leaned out. And at the bottom of the frame, the basement window of Mrs. Henderson's house, which is dark. I don't know what I'm looking for. I don't find anything. I sit there for about 2 minutes and then I feel foolish and get up and go to my room to update my resume for the 14th time. The following Thursday, I'm awake at 2 a.m. because I can't sleep and I'm reading job listings on my phone with the brightness turned down. The house is completely quiet except for the refrigerator and the faucet drip and the small sounds of a house at night. I hear my mother's bedroom door open. Her room is directly above mine. I hear her footsteps cross the upstairs hallway. I hear her come down the stairs, slowly holding the railing the way she does. I hear her reach the bottom of the stairs. I hear her walk down the hall. I hear her enter the kitchen. I hear the silence that comes after. This time I count it. I lie in my bed and count. I get to 114 seconds, nearly 2 minutes, before I hear any subsequent sound. Then the chair scraping, the specific sound of the table chair being pulled out, a settling creak, then nothing more. She's sitting at the kitchen table at 2 a.m. in the dark. I should get up. I should go check on her. But something in me resists this, and I need to be honest about what that something is. It's not fear, not exactly. It's the same feeling I get when I'm about to open an email I know contains a rejection. A reluctance to confirm something I can still, technically, not know. If I go to the kitchen and she's just sitting there, then I have to acknowledge that my mother is sitting alone in a dark kitchen at 2 a.m. and ask what that means and possibly hear an answer I'm not equipped to help with. So I lie there, I listen. At some point, I fall asleep, and when I wake at 7:15, the kitchen is empty and my mother is watching the morning news in the living room, and everything is normal. I tell myself it might have been a dream. I tell myself this even though I know it wasn't, because that's what you do. That weekend, I decide to fix the faucet. This is partially genuine maintenance. The drip has been constant since I moved in, and partially an excuse to spend extended time in the kitchen during the day, observing it with the detachment of someone performing a task. I drive to the hardware store in Lewistown and buy a replacement washer and a basin wrench I probably don't need. When I get back, my mother is in the kitchen, sitting at the table, the chair facing the window. "I'm going to fix that faucet," I say. "Oh, good. It's been driving me crazy." "Has it? You never mentioned it." "Well, you get used to things. I get to work. I turn off the supply valves under the sink. I disassemble the faucet handle. The washer is visibly degraded. Black rubber turned gray and brittle, leaving a gap that lets water pass. A simple fix. 10 minutes total. While I'm under the sink, my mother stays at the table. I can see her feet from my position on the floor. She's wearing the slippers I bought her for Christmas, gray with fleece lining. Her feet are still. She doesn't shift or fidget. She's just sitting. "Mom, can I ask you something?" "Sure, honey. Why do you sit in that chair instead of the other one?" A pause. "What do you mean? You always sit in the one facing the window. Even when you eat alone, you sit facing the window. So most people sit facing the room, right? Facing the doorway?" Another pause. Longer. I slide out from under the sink to look at her. She's looking at me with an expression I can't immediately parse. It's not confusion. It's not defensiveness. It's something more like recognition. Like I've said something she's heard before. "I just like the light from that window," she says. "Even at night the streetlight comes through." This is technically true. The alley between our house and Mrs. Henderson's does receive ambient light from the street, but it's a thin, gray, indirect light that I wouldn't describe as pleasant or worth seeking out. "Okay," I say. I finish the faucet. I turn the water back on. The drip is gone. The kitchen is quieter now without it, quieter in a way that feels less like an improvement and more like a subtraction. That night, lying in bed, I realize that the absence of the drip has made other sounds more audible. The house is not quieter, it's differently loud. And in the new hierarchy of sounds, I can hear something I couldn't hear before. Or maybe something that wasn't there before. A faint, irregular tapping, coming from below. Not my floor. Below my floor, the basement, it's not rhythmic. It's not the pipes or the boiler. It sounds like someone tapping a fingernail against wood. Tap, pause, tap, tap, longer pause, tap. I listen for 10 minutes. It stops. Or I stop being able to distinguish it from the other sounds. I fall asleep. I needed I tell you about the basement because it becomes relevant. The house has a full basement, concrete floor, block walls, exposed joists. It's the kind of basement that's technically finished in one corner where my father put up paneling and indoor-outdoor carpet. In the late 90s, creating a rec room that was used briefly for Carla's slumber parties and then became storage. The rest of the basement is utility. Boiler, water heater, breaker box, washer and dryer, and the accumulated storage of 30 years of family life in cardboard boxes. I haven't been down there since I moved back. There's no reason to. My mother does her laundry down there twice a week, and I've been using the laundromat in town because the machines are better. The basement door is in the kitchen, to the left of the refrigerator. A plain white door with a thumb-turn lock that hasn't been latched in years. I mention this because of what happens next. On Tuesday morning, I come downstairs, and my mother is already out. Her Tuesday walk to the post office, even though it's raining. I make coffee. I sit at the table because it's the only place to sit in the kitchen. I sit in the chair facing the room, facing the doorway, not the one facing the window. I drink my coffee and look at my phone. I notice the basement door is open, not wide, maybe 4 inches. Enough that I can see the top of the wooden stairs descending into the dark below. There's a light switch at the top of the stairs, but it's not on. Cold air comes up through the gap. Basement air, which has a particular quality in old houses. Mineral, damp, slightly sweet in a way that isn't pleasant. I get up and close the door. The latch doesn't fully catch. The door frame has swollen or shifted over the decades, and the door needs to be firmly pulled to stay shut. I pull it firmly. It clicks. I go back to my coffee. When my mother comes home 40 minutes later, damp from the rain, she goes to the kitchen to put the kettle on. I hear her moving around in there. Then I hear the specific sound of the basement door opening. not the click of the latch releasing. The quiet sound of the door being pulled open by someone who knows exactly how much force it requires. I get up and walk to the kitchen doorway. My mother is standing at the counter, filling the kettle at the sink. The basement door is open again. Same 4 inches, same dark gap. "Did you open the basement door?" I ask. She glances at it. "Oh, no, it just doesn't stay closed. You have to really yank it." I did close it. I pulled it until it latched. She shrugs. "The wood swells when it rains. Always has. She's right that the house is old and that doors stick and shift. She's right that it's raining. I accept this explanation because it's reasonable and because accepting it requires nothing of me." I close the door again. I pull it until it clicks. I push against it to confirm it's latched. It holds. I go back to the living room. At 2:15 p.m., I walk past the kitchen on the way to the bathroom. The door is open again, 4 inches, the same 4 inches. As if the door has a resting position it returns to. My mother is in the living room watching television. She hasn't been in the kitchen since morning. I close the door again. This time I pay attention to what I'm doing. I pull it fully closed. I hear the latch engage. I push it. It doesn't move, it's closed. I go to the bathroom. I come back. I look at the kitchen as I pass. The door is closed. It stays closed for the rest of the day. I check it at 4 p.m., at 7 p.m., at 10 p.m. before bed. Closed each time. At 2 a.m., I'm awake again, lying in my bed, listening. And I hear from below me, from the basement, the tapping. Tap, 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 pause, tap. And then I hear from above me my mother's door opening, her footsteps crossing the upstairs hall, her feet on the stairs, the hallway, the kitchen, the sound of the basement door being opened. And then, this is the part I keep returning to. I hear her footsteps on the basement stairs, going down. 1, 2, 3, 4. The old wooden stairs that creak in the middle. She goes down 7 steps. I count, and then she stops. She's standing on the basement stairs in the dark at 2 a.m. I get out of bed. I'm deliberate about it this time. I'm not going to lie here and not know. I walk out of my room, down the hall, into the kitchen. The fluorescent light is off. The kitchen is lit only by the streetlight through the window, that thin gray wash my mother claimed to sit facing. The basement door is fully open. The darkness below is absolute. "Mom?" No answer. "Mom, are you down there?" "Just checking the laundry." Her voice comes up from below. It sounds normal. Exactly normal. Exactly like her. It's 2 in the morning. I forgot to move it to the dryer. "Go back to bed, honey." I stand there. I look down into the dark. I can't see her. The light switch is right there, right at the top of the stairs, within reach. I could flip it on and see her standing on the 7th step in her gray slippers. I don't flip it on. I want to explain why, but the honest answer is that I'm afraid of what her face will look like. Not because I think it will be wrong. Not because I think I'll see something monstrous or transformed. Because I'm afraid her face will look exactly the way it looks when she's sitting at the table facing the window. That flattened quality. That channel switching pause. And I'm afraid that if I see it in the dark lit by a bare basement bulb, it will become real in a way I can't unsee. "Okay," I say. "Don't forget to come back up." I won't. I go back to bed. I lie there. I listen. After about 3 minutes, I hear her come back up the stairs. I hear the basement door close, not latching, just resting against the frame. I hear her walk back down the hall, up the stairs. Her door closes. The tapping from below has stopped. I'm going to describe what I do next as clearly as I can, because I think it matters that I made a series of deliberate choices. I'm not a passive observer of what's happening in this house. I'm making decisions, bad ones in retrospect, but I'm making them. I want that on the record. Wednesday, my mother leaves for her weekly appointment with Dr. Patel. Just a checkup for blood pressure, nothing concerning. And I have the house to myself for approximately 90 minutes. I go to the kitchen. I open the basement door. I turn on the light. The bulb at the top of the stairs illuminates the first 10 steps and the landing where the stairs turn left. Everything looks normal. Old wooden stairs, a railing on the right, cobwebs in the joist spaces above. The air rises toward me. Cool, damp, faintly sweet. I go down. The basement is exactly as I remember it from years ago. Concrete floor, painted gray and wearing through in the traffic paths. The washer and dryer against the far wall, a laundry basket beside them. Empty. The paneled rec room corner with its sad carpet and a shelf of old board games. Boxes stacked along the walls. The boiler hulking and painted black, its pipes running along the ceiling like arteries. I stand in the middle of the open space and I look. I don't know what I'm looking for. Something that would explain why my mother comes down here at 2 a.m. Something that would explain the tapping. Something that would make this make sense. I find nothing. The basement is a basement. Cold and slightly damp and full of stored life. I check behind the boiler. I check the rec room corner. I look at the walls where the small ground-level windows let in gray daylight. 2 windows, one on each side of the house, both intact, both locked. I check the laundry. The washer is empty. The dryer is empty. There's nothing to move to the dryer. There hasn't been anything in these machines in days. The dust on the dryer's lint trap tells me that. She lied to me. That's the first thing I know for certain. My mother stood on these stairs at 2 a.m. and lied to me about why she was here. I go back upstairs. I close the door. I latch it. Then I do something I'm not proud of. I get a dining chair from the other room and wedge it under the kitchen doorknob. The old movie trick, the back of the chair angled under the knob to prevent it from turning. I'm not trying to keep her out of the basement. I'm trying to see if the door opens on its own. If it does, if the chair is displaced in the morning, then the house is the problem. If it doesn't, if the door only opens when my mother opens it, then my mother is the problem. I don't know which answer I want. My mother comes home at noon. She doesn't go to the kitchen immediately. She sits in the living room and tells me about her blood pressure, slightly elevated but not concerning, and about running into someone from church in the parking lot. At 12:30, she goes to make lunch. I hear her enter the kitchen. I hear her stop. "David, why is there a chair against the basement door?" I'm ready for this. The door keeps swinging open. I thought it might be the latch is broken. A pause. "Oh, okay." I hear her move the chair. I hear it set down. Then the sounds of lunch being made. The refrigerator, the bread bag, the knife drawer. She doesn't mention it again. She doesn't open the basement door. That afternoon, I find the chair back in the dining room where it belongs and the basement door closed. Latched. When I check it, 3 p.m. it's latched. At 6 p.m. latched. At 9 p.m. latched. At 11 p.m. my mother goes to bed. I stay up. I'm going to stay up all night if I have to. I sit in the living room with the lights off and the television off and I wait. At 1:08 a.m. I hear it from the basement. The tapping. Tap, 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 irregular but deliberate. like a pattern I can't quite parse, like something trying to communicate in a language that's almost, but not quite, Morse code. At 1:11 a.m., I hear my mother's door open upstairs. I stand up. I move to the kitchen doorway. I stand in the dark hallway where I can see both the kitchen and the bottom of the stairs. The streetlight through the kitchen window gives me just enough illumination. She comes down the stairs, slowly, hand on the railing, her gray slippers on each step. She's wearing her nightgown, the blue flannel one, and her hair is down, which she rarely allows anyone to see because she's self-conscious about how thin it's gotten. She reaches the bottom of the stairs. She walks down the hall. She enters the kitchen. She doesn't see me, or if she sees me, she doesn't react to me. She walks directly to the basement door. She unlatches it, a firm pull, the click of release, and opens it. Not 4 inches this time, all the way. The dark below rises up like a breath. My mother stands at the top of the basement stairs and tilts her head, the same tilt. Listening. From below, I can hear it, the tapping. Clearer now with the door open. Tap, tap, tap. It's coming from somewhere deep in the basement, not near the stairs, farther back. Near the boiler, maybe. Or beyond it, near the wall where there is nothing. Mom, I say it firmly, not a question. She turns her head toward me. In the gray streetlight, her face is calm. Not blank, calm. The face of someone who's been interrupted during something routine. The face she makes when I talk to her while she's reading. Go back to bed, David, she says. Her voice is patient, awake, completely lucid. What are you doing? I'm checking on something. What are you checking on? She looks at me for a long moment. The tapping continues below. Tap, pause, tap, tap. You fixed the faucet, she says. That was sweet. Mom, what's in the basement? Nothing's in the basement. Then why are you going down there at 1 a.m? She sighs. The kind of sigh that means I'm being tiresome. The kind of sigh I heard all through adolescence when I pushed against rules that didn't need explaining because they were simply how things were. Some things don't need your attention, David. I've lived here alone for 6 years. I know this house. She turns back to the dark stairs. She descends. 1, 2, 3. I watch her gray slippers disappear step by step into the dark. 4, 5, 6, 7. She stops at 7. Same place as before. I flip the light switch. The bare bulb at the top of the stairs buzzes on, yellow and harsh. It illuminates the stairs down to the landing and just barely the turn at the bottom. My mother is standing on the 7th step. Her back is to me. Her head is tilted down, looking at something below the turn in the stairs, something in the main basement space that the angle of the stairwell prevents me from seeing. Turn that off, she says. Her voice is different now, not angry, tight. The way you speak when you're trying not to startle something. What are you looking at? David, turn it off. I don't turn it off. I take 1 step down. The stair creaks under me. My mother's shoulders tense. Stop, she says. Don't come down here. Why? Because it doesn't know you yet, and I need it to stay that way. The sentence hits me in a place I don't have a name for. Not my chest, not my stomach, somewhere behind those. In the architecture of what I thought I understood about my mother and this house, and the shape of the years she spent here alone. What doesn't know me? She doesn't answer. The tapping has stopped. The basement is silent now except for the buzzing of the bulb and the sound of my own breathing, which I'm suddenly aware is faster than it should be. Go upstairs, my mother says. Please, Mom, I'll come up in a minute. I promise, but you need to go upstairs and you need to turn off this light. Her voice shakes on the last 3 words, just slightly. A tremor I've heard maybe 4 times in my life. Once when my father got the diagnosis, once at the funeral, once when Carla said she was moving to Arizona, and now it's fear. My mother is afraid. Not of me, of something my presence here is making worse. I turn off the light. I go upstairs. I sit on my bed. I wait. 4 minutes later, I hear her come up. The basement door closes. The latch clicks, firm, deliberate. She walks down the hall, up the stairs. She pauses outside my door. David. Yeah, in the morning we'll talk about it. Okay. Her footsteps continue to her room. Her door closes. I sit in the dark for a long time. I think about what I know. I think about what she said. It doesn't know you yet. And I try to find an interpretation that doesn't mean what it obviously means. She's confused. She's sleepwalking. She has early onset dementia. And this is a confabulation. She's developed a delusion. She's performing a grief ritual related to my father that has become disordered. All of these are easier than, there is something in the basement that my mother has been tending. In the morning, she makes breakfast as if nothing happened. Scrambled eggs, toast, coffee. She sets 2 places at the table, both chairs facing the window, because that's how you set a table with only 2 sides. She eats. She asks me if I have any interviews this week. I say I have a phone call with a staffing agency on Friday. She says that sounds promising. Mom. You said we'd talk about it. She puts her fork down. She takes a sip of coffee. She looks at the window, not through it. At it, at the glass itself, at the faint reflection of the kitchen superimposed over the brick wall outside. Your father knew, she says. He didn't want to know, but he knew, and he decided the best thing to do was be gone as much as possible. So he took the long-haul routes. 4 days, 5 days. I don't blame him for that. Knew about what? I don't know what it is, David. I want to say that clearly. I don't have a name for it, and I don't have an explanation. I'm not having some kind of episode. I know what this sounds like. Okay, it started about 2 years after we moved in, 1996. You were 4. It was subtle at first. Sounds in the basement at night. I thought mice. Your father thought pipes. We called someone and they found nothing. Then it changed. Changed how? She picks up her fork again, puts it down, picks up her coffee instead. It started asking for me. Not in words, it doesn't talk. It doesn't look like anything. I've never seen it, but it calls, it pulls. You know when someone's looking at you and you can feel it, like that, but from below. And it's specifically me. It's always been specifically me. Since 1996. Since 1996. I sit with this. My eggs are getting cold. The kitchen is full of morning light. Actual sunlight for once, not the gray rain light of the past week. Everything looks utterly normal. Cabinets, counter, sink, window. My mother across from me, 61, in her fleece pullover and reading glasses pushed up on her head. Why didn't you tell anyone? Why didn't you leave? She looks at me as if I've said something naively obvious. And go where? With what money? With 2 children? To tell people what exactly? You could have told Dad. I did tell your father. He went down there with a flashlight and a baseball bat, and he found nothing. And the next night it was louder, and the night after that. And he said we should call the church, and I said no, because I already understood by then. Understood what? That it was mine, that it was calling me specifically, that what it wanted was me going down there, not an exorcism, not a priest, not your father with a bat. Me, specifically me on those stairs. And when you go down there, what happens? Nothing. That's the thing. Nothing happens. I go down 7 steps, I stand there, it gets quiet, and then I come back up. That's all it's ever been. 30 years. I go when it asks, and I stand there and it goes quiet, and that's the whole thing. That can't be the whole thing. She looks at me. Why not? Because I stop. Because why not? Because it's not enough of a horror story? Because I need it to be building towards something? Because a woman standing on her basement stairs at night for 30 years doing nothing is somehow worse than any climax I could imagine? What happens if you don't go? I ask instead. I tried that early on when I thought I could just ignore it. She takes a long breath. It gets louder, louder. It gets wider. Instead of pulling from below, it starts pulling from everywhere. The walls, the floor, the windows, and it stops being just me. Carla woke up one night, she was 5, and she walked to the basement door in her sleep. I caught her on the 2nd step. My skin does something I've never felt before. Not goosebumps, something beneath goosebumps, something structural. So you go. I go. Every time it asks. And it stays contained, it stays below, and it only asks for me. Until now. She looks at me sharply. What do you mean? You said it doesn't know me. That means it could know me. That means my being here changes something. She sets down her coffee. Her hands are shaking slightly. Not dramatically, the fine tremor of someone who's been holding something tightly for a very long time. 6 years I lived alone here, it asked every few days. Consistent, predictable. Since you moved in, it asks every night. Sometimes twice, and last night it was tapping for the first time in... I don't remember the last time it tapped. Tapping means it's restless. Tapping means 7 steps might not be enough. So I should leave. I don't want you to leave, she says. And her voice breaks, actually breaks, the way a voice does when the person is about to cry and is using every muscle in their face to prevent it. I've been alone in this house for 6 years with this thing, and I don't want you to leave. But I think it's learning your smell or your sound or whatever it is it knows. And I think once it knows you, it will call you too. And I don't know if it will let both of us be enough. Be enough for what? For whatever it needs standing on those stairs to be. We sit in silence. The refrigerator hums. A car passes on the street outside. The kitchen is so normal it hurts. The dish soap on the counter. The calendar on the wall with dentist appointments and Donna's birthday marked in my mother's careful handwriting. I need to see it, I say. No. Mom, no, David. Listen to me. She leans forward. Her eyes are wet, but she's not crying. She's focused. She's as alert as I've ever seen her. The only thing that has worked for 30 years is that I don't look past the 7th step. I don't turn on the light down there. I don't go below the turn. I go 7 steps and I stand and I come back. That's the deal. That's what keeps it small. You don't know that. You don't know what's actually down there. I know what works. I know what's kept my children safe and kept this thing in this house where I can manage it. I don't need to know what it is. I need it to stay the way it is. And you, she stops, takes a breath. You being here makes it hungry. I can feel it. Every night it's stronger. Every night, 7 steps feels like 6.5, like it's closer to the top, or like the stairs are getting shorter. I want to tell you I did the right thing. I want to tell you I listened to my mother, who has managed this thing for 3 decades without anyone's help, who has kept it contained through sheer stubborn routine, who understands it better than anyone alive. I want to tell you I respected her expertise, her authority, her desperate request. I don't do the right thing. I do the thing I always do, which is the thing that makes me feel like I'm helping, while actually being the thing that makes everything worse. I do research. I call Carla. Has Mom ever talked to you about the basement? I ask. What about the basement? Has she ever said anything weird about it? About sounds? About going down there at night? A long pause. Carla's kitchen is audible in the background. Her kids, a television, the chaos of a household that is nothing like the one we grew up in. David, what's going on? Is she okay? She's fine. She's been going down to the basement at night, and it seems compulsive. I'm wondering if it's new or if it's something she's always done. I don't. I mean, when we were kids, she was always the one who went down there. Dad never did laundry or anything, but I don't remember anything weird about it. Do you remember sleepwalking when you were little? Walking toward the basement door? The pause is longer this time. Where is this coming from? Mom told me something about the house, about something in the basement that she's been managing. For a long time, managing. She goes down 7 steps every time it calls her. She says it's been happening since 1996. Carla doesn't say anything for so long I check my phone to make sure the call hasn't dropped. Carla, I'm here. She exhales. This sounds like something you need to talk to her doctor about, David, not me. If she's having delusions, she's not delusional. She's completely lucid. It's the most clear-headed I've ever seen her. People can be lucid and still be experiencing. I've heard it, Carla. The tapping. I've heard it. It's not in her head. Old houses make sounds. Not like this, David. Her voice has the quality it gets when she's decided something. Settled, final, closed. I'm not going to engage with this. If Mom needs help, call her doctor. If you need help, I'm happy to talk about that, but I'm not going to validate whatever this is. She's right. From her position 3 time zones away, in a house with 3 kids and a husband and a full life that has no room for the supernatural impossibilities of a childhood home. She left 15 years ago. She's completely right to say this. I can't blame her. I also can't talk to her again about this. She's made that clear. I hang up, I sit in my car in the driveway because I made the call from outside. It's 4 p.m. and the sun is setting because March in Pennsylvania is cruel about daylight. The house in front of me looks the way it's always looked. White siding, green shutters, the front porch where my mother puts geraniums in summer. A normal house on a normal street in a dying small town in central Pennsylvania. I go back inside. My mother is in the kitchen, sitting at the table, facing the window. When I walk in, she looks at me, and I can tell immediately that she knows I called Carla. She thinks I'm losing it, my mother says. Not accusing, tired. She's worried. She always was the smart one, staying away. She stands up. She puts her hand on my arm as she passes me. I need to ask you not to interfere with this, David. I need you to trust me. Can you do that? Yes, I say. I'm lying. She probably knows I'm lying. She squeezes my arm and goes to the living room. I hear the television turn on. A cooking show. Someone deconstructing something that used to be whole. Friday night. The interview with the staffing agency went well. They have a 6-month contract position in data entry that starts in 2 weeks. pays barely enough and requires a 90-minute commute. I'm going to take it because I need to take anything. I tell my mother over dinner, and she says, "That's wonderful," and means it. That night, I go to bed at 11. I set my phone alarm for 1 a.m. When it wakes me, I lie still and listen. 12 minutes later, the tap-bam begins. Faint below me. Tap, tap, tap. 3 minutes after that, my mother's door opens. I wait until I hear her on the stairs, the main stairs, going down to the first floor. Then I get up. I move quietly. I go to the upstairs hallway. I position myself at the top of the stairs where I can see down to the first floor without being seen. My mother crosses the hallway below. She enters the kitchen. I hear the basement door open. And then her footsteps on the wooden stairs going down, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. She stops. The tapping stops. Silence, I count, 10 seconds, 20, 30. At 45 seconds, I hear her speak, very quietly. So quietly I can barely hear it from the top of the stairs. She says, "Not him, just me, like always." The silence after this is different, heavier, the kind of silence that has texture, like the air itself is holding still then. A sound I haven't heard before, not tapping, not a voice, a sound like, the best I can describe it is a long, slow inhale, as if the basement itself is breathing in, drawing air downward. I can feel it, even from where I'm standing, a faint pull, a reduction in pressure, like the house just sealed a window somewhere. My mother comes back up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The basement door closes. She walks out of the kitchen, down the hall to the stairs. She looks up. She sees me, her face in the dark, lit only by the distant streetlight coming through the kitchen, coming down the hall in that thin gray wash, is the face of someone who has just done something physically exhausting, not afraid, spent. The way she looked when my father was dying, and she'd been at the hospital for 14 hours and came home at midnight to sleep for 4 hours before going back. "David, I heard you talking to it." She closes her eyes. "You need to leave this house." "I'm not leaving you here alone with. I was alone with it for 6 years. I was alone with it for 30 years, functionally, because your father refused to acknowledge it. I can manage this. I have been managing this. What I cannot manage is it learning you, which it is doing. Every night it gets faster after you fall asleep. It can feel when you're conscious and when you're not. And tonight was the first time it tried to pull while you were still awake. What do you mean?" The tapping started before 1 a.m. It's never started before 2. It's testing, seeing if you'll come when it calls. I didn't feel anything. You woke up, didn't you? I had set an alarm. That's what woke me. But hadn't I been already partially awake before it went off? Hadn't I been lying in a state that was less sleep than waiting? I try to remember, and I can't determine the boundary between sleeping and not sleeping in those minutes before 1 a.m. The contract starts in 2 weeks, I say. In Harrisburg, I could get an apartment there. Good. That's good. Her shoulders drop. Relief. Genuine, visible relief. But what about you? What about every night for the rest of the rest of my life? Yes. That's what it is. That's what it's been. She says this without self-pity, without martyrdom, with the flatness of someone stating the dimensions of a room they live in. I go down 7 steps. I stand there. It goes quiet. I come back up. It takes 90 seconds. It's the easiest terrible thing in the world. She goes to her room. I go to mine. I lie awake until dawn. I'm going to tell you what I did. I'm going to tell you clearly and without excuse. I made a choice, and the choice was mine, and what happened after was my fault. Sunday, my mother goes to church. She'll be gone from 9:30 to noon. The service and then coffee with Patty in the church basement. Their church has a basement too. I wonder now if my mother sits in it and feels anything. I have 2.5 hours. I go to the kitchen. I open the basement door. I turn on the light. I go down the stairs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I stop on 7. The landing is here. The turn where the stairs go left and descend the final 5 steps to the basement floor. From step 7, I can see the ceiling of the basement, the exposed joists, the pipes. I can see the top of the far wall. I cannot see the floor or most of the space. I listen, nothing, no tapping. No sound except the boiler and the hum of fluorescent tubes and the faint resonance of an old house in winter. I take step 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I'm at the bottom of the stairs. I'm in the basement. The overhead fluorescents are on. All 3 of them. One over the laundry area, one over the rec room corner, one over the open central space. The basement is lit. It is empty. It is concrete and boxes, and the machinery of a house and nothing more. I stand there. I feel nothing. No pull, no presence, no tapping, no breathing sound. The basement is exactly what a basement is. I walk to the center. I look behind the boiler. Nothing. I check the rec room corner. Nothing. I check the walls. Solid concrete block. Painted white years ago. The paint bubbling with damp in some places but structurally sound. The ground-level windows let in thin morning light. The floor is concrete unbroken, with no cracks large enough to be notable. I stand in the middle of the space and I say, out loud, "Hello?" Nothing. I say, "I'm David. I live here." Nothing. I feel stupid. I feel like a man standing in a basement talking to no one. The furnace kicks on and I jump, a full-body startle that makes my heart pound. And then I feel even more stupid because it's just the furnace. It's just the heat cycling on the way it does 20 times a day. I go back upstairs. I close the door. I sit at the kitchen table and I feel relieved, vindicated. Maybe my mother is experiencing something psychological. Maybe 30 years of isolation and an absent husband and the weight of raising children alone in a house she couldn't afford to leave. Maybe it manifested as this, as a ritual, as a reason to be needed, as a thing that requires her specifically. There's a logic to that, a sad, human, explicable logic. I almost convince myself. My mother comes home at 12:15. She comes in the front door. She calls out, "I'm home," the way she always does. I hear her take off her coat. I hear her walk down the hall. She stops at the kitchen doorway. I'm still sitting at the table, facing the window, in the chair she always sits in, and she looks at me. And her face does something I've never seen on a human face before. It's not the flattening. It's not the channel switch. It's a kind of disassembly. Like all the pieces of her expression suddenly operating independently. Her eyes doing one thing, her mouth doing another, her brows a third, before they snap back together into a configuration that is technically a smile, but has nothing behind it. "You went down there," she says. "Yes, all the way down." "Yes, there's nothing there, Mom." I looked. There's nothing. She stands in the doorway. She's still wearing her church clothes, a navy cardigan, her good slacks. Her purse is still on her shoulder. She hasn't moved past the threshold of the kitchen. "Come here," she says. "Come out of the kitchen." "Mom," I'm sitting at the table. There's nothing. David, come out of the kitchen, now. Her voice is the voice I heard on the stairs. Tight, controlled, careful. The voice of someone trying not to startle something. But this time I realize she's looking at me differently. She's looking at me the way I've been looking at the basement door, like I'm the thing that's wrong. I stand up. I walk toward her. As I cross the threshold from the kitchen into the hallway, she grabs my arm hard, harder than I've ever felt her grip, and pulls me toward her, past her, into the hall. Mom, what? She's looking past me into the kitchen. I turn. The kitchen is empty. The table, the chairs, the counter, the sink, the window with its gray daylight. Everything normal, except the basement door is open, not 4 inches, all the way, and it wasn't open when she arrived. I latched it. I absolutely latched it. I latched it and pushed it and confirmed it was closed before I sat down at the table 20 minutes ago, and there's a smell coming up from below. Not the usual mineral damp sweet basement smell. Something different. Something organic and wrong. Like breath, like someone else's breath held too close to your face for too long. Gone stale and warm and intimate. My mother lets go of my arm. She walks past me into the kitchen. She walks to the basement door. She closes it, firmly latches it. Then she turns to me, and her face is the face of a woman who has been carrying something alone for 30 years and has just watched her son make it heavier. It knows you now, she says. That night. I feel it. I can't describe it precisely because it isn't a sensation that maps to any sense I have language for. It isn't hearing, and it isn't touch, and it isn't the sense of being watched. It's orientation, like being faced, like something below me has turned its attention upward and fixed it, and the fixing has a weight that presses against the floor beneath my bed. The tapping starts at 11:43 p.m., earlier than ever, and for the first time, I feel the pull. My mother told me it was like someone looking at you. That's not what it feels like. It feels like gravity, like there's a second downward, like in addition to the normal pull of the earth, there is a specific directional pull toward the basement that is calibrated to something inside me. Not my body, something else. Whatever my mother meant when she said smell or sound, whatever part of a person this thing reads. I grip the edges of my mattress. I press my back into the bed. The pull isn't strong. It's a suggestion, a lean. The way you feel when you stand at the edge of a high place and something in you whispers forward. It's that, except the direction is down. My mother's door opens. Her footsteps. The stairs, the hall, the kitchen, the basement door. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The pull eases, like something was reaching for me, and then something better arrived. I lie in bed and I cry. I haven't cried in months. Since the layoff, since the conversation with my ex about splitting the deposit on the apartment I could no longer afford. I cry now because I understand something I didn't want to understand. My mother is not just going down those stairs for herself. She's going down to redirect something that would otherwise reach upward. She is physically interposing herself between this thing and the rest of the house. Every night, for 30 years, not because she has to, because if she doesn't, it will find someone else. Carla, me, anyone in its radius. And now it knows there's a second option. Now it has an alternative if she ever fails to come. I find an apartment in Harrisburg within a week. It's a studio above a dry cleaner's on Front Street. The carpet smells like solvent and the windows face an alley. I sign the lease on Tuesday and tell my mother I'm moving out on Saturday, she cries. Not from sadness about me leaving, from relief. She tries to hide it, but I know her face, and I know what relief looks like when it costs someone something to feel it. You'll visit, she says, Sundays. For dinner, of course, and you'll call every day. And you won't come back here at night. Don't stay past, don't stay after dark. She's trying to make this sound casual, like a preference. Okay? Thursday, 2 days before I move, the data entry contract starts Monday. My things are mostly packed. It wasn't much. Clothes, laptop, some books. The room looks the way it looked when I moved in, minus the green walls. All the fixtures of my childhood are still here. The desk where I did homework. The shelf that held trophies I threw away 10 years ago. The window that faces the backyard. That night the tapping starts at 10:30 p.m. I'm still awake. My mother is still awake. We're watching television in the living room. A nature documentary about deep-sea creatures that survive in pressures that would crush anything else. And I feel the pull immediately, stronger than before. Not a suggestion, but an instruction. My legs want to straighten. My body wants to stand. Not violently, not a compulsion that overrides my will, but a steady, patient pressure like water rising slowly around my ankles. My mother stands up. No, I say. It's too early. You just went at 2 last night. It's not on a schedule anymore, David. It's been accelerating since you went down there. She's already walking toward the kitchen. Her voice is matter of fact. This is what I meant. It's excited. It knows there's more than one of us and it's testing the frequency. Then let me go. She stops, turns, looks at me. What? Let me go down. Let me be the one to stand on the stairs. You've done it for 30 years. Let me do it once. You don't know what. 7 steps. Stand there. Come back up. That's what you said. That's the deal. Her face does something complicated. I can see her weighing it. The exhaustion of 30 years against the terror of letting her son do this thing she's contained alone. The pull intensifies. I feel it in my shins, my knees, a gravitational lean toward the kitchen that makes standing still require deliberate effort. Together, she says finally, we go together, and you don't go past 7, no matter what. We walk to the kitchen. She opens the basement door. The dark below is total, the light is off, and neither of us reaches for the switch. My mother goes first. I follow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We stand side by side on the 7th step, the landing, the turn. The basement breathes, that long, slow inhale I heard before, pulling air downward. The smell is there again, organic, warm, intimate, close. And then something happens that my mother clearly did not expect. The tapping starts again, but not from below, from above, from the kitchen. From the floor we just left. Tap, 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 tap. My mother makes a sound, a small, involuntary sound, not a gasp, not a word. The sound a person makes when something that has been reliably true for 30 years suddenly isn't. She grabs my arm. Up, she says, up. Now we go up fast. Back into the kitchen. The tapping has stopped. The kitchen is empty. Everything is where it was. The basement door gapes behind us. My mother closes it, latches it, puts her back against it. Her face is white. Not figuratively, the blood has left her face and she is gray-white, the color of something drained. It was above us, she says. I heard it. It's never been above us. It's never been anywhere but below. I know. You went down there. You went all the way down and you You showed it the shape of the stairs. You showed it that there's more above than just me. You showed it the whole house. Mom, I don't think you told it your name. She stares at me. Did you? When you went down there, did you say your name? I remember, standing in the middle of the basement, feeling stupid, speaking to nothing. I'm David. I live here. Oh God, my mother says. She slides down the door until she's sitting on the kitchen floor. Her hands are shaking. Not the fine tremor from before. Full shaking, visible, her fingers jumping. Oh God, you invited it. You told it who you are, and you invited it to know you. I move out on Saturday, as planned. My mother insists. She practically pushes me out the door. It's been 2 days, she says. Nothing else has happened. It tapped from upstairs once. It hasn't done it again. It's probably fine. I'll manage it. I've always managed it. She's lying, I can tell. But I don't know what else to do. I can't fix this. I can't unsay my name. I can't undescend those stairs. I can't undo the thing I did by trying to help, by trying to prove my mother wrong, by trying to make the irrational rational through the simple act of going and looking and finding nothing. I drive to Harrisburg. I unload my car. I carry boxes up the stairs to the studio that smells like dry cleaning solvent. I make the bed. I sit on it. The studio has no basement. It's on the 2nd floor. Below me is the dry cleaners, and below that is concrete slab. There is nothing beneath me but commerce and foundation and earth. I feel nothing, no pull, no orientation, no tapping. The apartment is utterly ordinary, ugly and small and chemical smelling, but ordinary. That night I sleep solidly for the first time in weeks. Deep, dreamless, undisturbed. I wake at 7 a.m. feeling like a person who has left something terrible behind. I call my mother at 8. How was the night? I ask. A pause. Not long. Fine. Did it? David? I don't want to talk about it over the phone. Okay, come Sunday. For dinner, I'll make the chicken thing you like. Okay, I start the data entry job on Monday. It's exactly as soul-deadening as expected. Entering shipping manifests into a database for 8 hours. But it's money and it's structure, and I've learned never to underestimate the psychological utility of structure. I work, I eat, I sleep. The apartment is quiet in a way that feels healthy rather than ominous. I hear the dry cleaner's machines through the floor during the day. Traffic on Front Street. The Susquehanna River, 2 blocks east. Normal sounds. Sunday I drive to Waterville. 90 minutes. I arrive at 3 p.m., well before dark. My mother opens the door and she looks older. Not dramatically. Not in a way a stranger would notice. But I know her face in the way you know someone you've watched age your entire life, and something has changed in the 6 days since I left. The skin under her eyes is darker. The lines at her mouth are deeper. Her movements are slightly slower. The kind of slow that comes from not sleeping enough. You look tired, I say. I'm fine. Come in, come in. Dinner is normal. The chicken thing I like. Lemon and capers and a butter sauce she's made 100 times. We eat at the kitchen table, both chairs facing the window because there's no other option. I'm hyper-aware of the basement door to my left. It's closed, latched. I don't look at it more than once. How are the nights? I ask, carefully, over coffee. She doesn't answer immediately. She stirs her coffee even though she doesn't take sugar. They're fine. They're managed. Mom. It's every night now. Earlier each time. Last night it started at 9. She says this without looking at me, but it still goes quiet when I go down. 7 steps. same as always. And the tapping from upstairs only happened the once. Okay, she looks up, smiles. How's the apartment? Is the bed comfortable? I leave at 5:30, well before dark. As I'm putting on my coat, she hugs me, longer than usual, tighter than usual, the hug of someone who needs physical contact and won't ask for it. I love you, she says. I love you too. I'll call tomorrow. I drive home. I'm on Route 322, 20 minutes from Harrisburg, when my phone rings. It's my mother. I answer on the car speaker. David. Her voice is strange, controlled in a way that's effortful. When you were here today, at dinner, did you feel anything? Feel anything? Like what? Like a pull, like before. I think about it. I was hyper-aware of the basement door, yes, but did I feel the gravitational lean, the directional pull? The orientation? No, I say. I didn't feel it. A long breath on the other end. Okay, good. Okay. Why? Because it was asking for you. The whole time you were here. I could feel it asking for you, and I couldn't tell if you were hearing it or not. And you weren't. So the distance helps. Whatever it learned when you went down there, it can't reach you from far away. But it can ask for me. It asks for you. And then I go down and I tell it no. Not him. Just me, and it takes what I give it instead. But Dave's, it's taking more. More what? More time. I used to stand there 90 seconds. Now it's 3 minutes, 4. Last night it was almost 5 minutes before it went quiet, and the pull from me, it's stronger. I feel tired after. Really tired, like something was drawn out. Mom, you need to leave that house. Go where? With what money? What do I tell people? The same questions I asked 30 years ago, and the answer hasn't changed. This is my house. This is my problem. I manage it. It's getting worse because of what I did. Let me help. You've helped enough. She says it without cruelty, but it lands like a blade. I'm sorry. That came out wrong. But the best thing you can do is stay away. Stay far away, and don't come back after dark. And don't, her voice catches, don't ever say your name in that basement again. Don't give it anything else. I'm so sorry, Mom. I know, baby, I know. It's going to be fine. She hangs up. 3 weeks pass. I work. I call my mother every day. She sounds normal. Tired, but normal. I visit on Sundays, always leaving before 5 p.m. The house looks the same. The kitchen looks the same. The basement door stays closed and latched. But my mother is diminishing. Each Sunday she's slightly less than she was. Not confused, not delusional, not irrational. Just less. Like a photograph that's been copied too many times, each generation losing some subtle quality of resolution. Her laugh is the same pitch but shorter in duration. Her opinions on the cooking shows are less specific. Her cooking itself is simpler, fewer ingredients, less effort. Meals that are adequate rather than good. She's being consumed. Something is drawing something out of her every night and replacing it with nothing. On the 4th Sunday, she falls asleep on the couch at 3 p.m. Mid-sentence. We're talking about Carla's kids and she just stops. Her eyes close. Her head tips back. She's asleep instantly the way the profoundly exhausted do. I sit there. I look at her. My mother asleep in afternoon light, looking smaller than she should. Her hands in her lap. The veins more prominent than I remember. Her face in repose, not peaceful but absent. I look at the kitchen. The doorway is visible from where I sit, the hall. The kitchen beyond, I feel it. Faint. Faint like something at the edge of hearing. Not the pull. Not the gravitational lean from before. Something different. A suggestion. Not downward, but toward the kitchen, toward the door at the end of the hall. It's 3:15 p.m. on a Sunday afternoon, with sun coming through the living room windows, and my mother asleep beside me, and something in the basement of this house is reaching toward me across whatever distance it needs to cross, and the distance is shorter than it was last week. I stand up. I take my coat. I write a note. Gone home early. Didn't want to wake you. Call me. Love you. I put it on the table beside the recliner. I leave. In the car, the feeling fades immediately. By the time I'm on 322, it's gone entirely. My apartment, when I reach it, is clean and ordinary and safe. There is nothing below me that knows my name. I call my mother at 7 p.m. She doesn't answer. I call again at 8. Nothing. At 9, I'm pacing my apartment. At 9:30, I call Carla. I can't reach Mom. She's probably asleep. You said she's been tired. Carla, I need to tell you something and I need you to listen. I tell her everything, all of it. The tapping, the nightly trips, the conversation, the pull, the basement, my mistake, everything. It takes 20 minutes. Carla is silent through all of it. When I finish, the silence extends. Carla, I don't know what to do with this, David. I know. I think Mom needs to be evaluated. I think you might both. I know what it sounds like, but I'm asking you to believe me. I can't. I'm sorry. I love you and I love Mom, but I can't believe that there's something in the basement of our childhood home that's been calling our mother down 7 steps every night for 30 years. Okay, I can call her in the morning. If she doesn't pick up by tomorrow afternoon, I'll call the non-emergency line and ask for a welfare check. Okay, I hang up. I sit in my apartment. I don't sleep. At 6 a.m. Monday, I call my mother. She answers on the 3rd ring. Hello? Her voice is groggy, thick with sleep. But it's her. Mom, Jesus, I called last night and you didn't pick up. I must have slept through it. I'm sorry, honey. Are you okay? I'm fine, just tired. Did it last night. David, not on the phone. Right, sorry. I'll talk to you later. I love you. She hangs up. She's alive. She's fine. I tell myself she's fine. This is where I stop being able to tell you what's happening in that house. Because I'm not there anymore. I'm 90 minutes away in an apartment above a dry cleaner's, entering shipping manifests into a database. I call every day. She answers most days. When she doesn't, she calls back the next morning. Our conversations are brief, normal surface. She doesn't mention it, I don't ask. On Sundays I visit. Each week she's a little less, a little slower, a little more transparent. The word that keeps coming to mind is thinning, like she's being stretched over a larger area, covering more ground with less material. And each week, when I sit in that living room, I feel the pull a little stronger. By mid-April, it's undeniable. I walk into that house and something below it knows I'm there, and it reaches for me. And the reaching has intent. Not hostile intent, exactly. Hungry intent. The way water runs toward the lowest point, not with malice, just with physics. It wants me down those stairs the way gravity wants everything down. I start leaving earlier, 4 p.m., 3 p.m. One Sunday I stay only 45 minutes. My mother notices but says nothing. She's grateful for whatever time I give her and terrified of what my presence costs her later. I get the story in fragments. Over the phone, in careful non-specific language. The nightly visits are lasting longer. 7, 8 minutes now. She's lost 11 pounds since February. She sleeps 12 hours a day and wakes up exhausted. The thing doesn't tap anymore. It doesn't need to. It just pulls, and she goes. It feels, she says one Tuesday evening, like giving blood. You know? That feeling of something leaving you that you can technically spare. Except every night it takes the same amount, and eventually you can't spare it anymore. Mom, you need to leave. We've had this conversation. Come stay with me. My studio is small, but it doesn't matter where I go. Her voice is very quiet. I tried that. In 1998, I went to my sister's for a week, told your faux father it was a girl's trip. The second night, I woke up in her basement, standing on the stairs. I don't remember walking there. That was 1998. That was before you. It's bonded, David. It's been bonded for 30 years. It will find me anywhere. Then I don't know. We get help. Someone must know how to. There is no one who knows how to do anything about this. I've looked. Do you think I haven't looked? In 30 years, do you think I didn't try? I went to doctors. I went to priests. I went to a woman in Lewisburg who said she could clear energies. Nothing changes it. Nothing affects it. The only thing that works is going down and giving it what it wants. What does it want? Me, she says simply. It just wants me there, standing on those stairs, being present for it. That's all it's ever wanted. It's just that being present used to cost nothing, and now it costs something. Because of me, because I went down there and... Stop, David, stop! It was going to change eventually anyway. Things that feed get hungrier. That's just how appetite works. You accelerated it, but it was always going to get here. May. The job is fine. The apartment is fine. I'm fine in every measurable way. I eat, I sleep, I work, I date someone briefly, and it goes nowhere. I watch television at night, and I don't feel the pull, and I don't hear the tapping, and my basementless apartment is exactly what safety feels like. I call my mother on a Thursday evening. It rings 6 times, she answers. Hi, honey. Her voice, the thinning has reached her voice. It sounds like her. The same timbre, the same patterns, but from farther away, like she's calling from a deeper room. How are you, Mom? I'm good. I made soup today. The potato one. That's good, David. I want to tell you something. Okay. I think we should stop the Sunday visits. Something in my chest constricts. Why? Because every time you come here, it gets a little easier for it to reach you, and I'm not going to be enough to redirect it much longer. And when I'm not enough, it's going to reach for you. And if you're here when that happens, Mom, let me finish. I want you to live your life. I want you to keep working and keep being okay, and eventually find someone and have whatever life you're going to have. And I need that life to be far away from this house, and I need it to stay far away. I can't just let you. You're not letting me do anything. I'm telling you what I've decided. This is my house and my thing, and I'm going to manage it the way I've always managed it. What happens when you can't manage it anymore? She's quiet for a long time. Long enough that I hear the television in the background, that cooking show, the one with the judges. Long enough that I hear, or think I hear, something else. A faint sound, irregular, from far away on her end, tap, tap, tap. Then it gets what it's been working toward for 30 years, she says, and that's between me and it. Mom, I love you, David. You know that. I love you too, please. Good night. She hangs up. I don't go back on Sunday, or the next Sunday. I call every day. She answers most days. When she doesn't, she calls back within 12 hours. Her voice gets farther away each time, thinner. like a signal degrading over distance. In June, she stops answering him for 3 days. I call Carla. Carla calls the police for a welfare check. An officer goes to the house and finds my mother in the living room watching television. She's fine, the officer says, a little confused about why anyone was checking on her. She said she'd lost her phone. I call her on a new number she gives me. She sounds present, alert even, more herself than she's sounded in weeks. I'm fine, David. Really, I feel better actually. Better how? I don't know. Just lighter. It's been quiet the last few nights. Maybe it's easing off. Really? Really, don't worry about me. I want to believe this. I try to believe this. For 3 weeks, she sounds good on the phone. Normal. Like the mother I had before any of this. She tells me about Patty's hip surgery and Donna's new cat and the garden she's planting in the backyard. Normal things. Human things. She laughs and the laugh sounds full and close and real. And then I realize what's wrong. It's July. I'm lying in bed in my apartment, and I'm thinking about my mother's voice, how good it sounds, how present, how full. And I realize that the thinning has stopped, that the consumption has stopped, that something that was being taken from her every night for months has stopped being taken. And I think about what she told me in March. Things that feed get hungrier. That's just how appetite works. Things that feed don't stop being hungry. They stop being hungry when they're full. I call her. It's 11 p.m., she answers immediately. David? It's late, Mom. When you say it's been quiet, when you say it's not calling you anymore, what does that mean exactly? It means exactly what I said. It stopped calling. I haven't been down there in 2 weeks. 2 weeks. Isn't that good? Isn't that what we wanted? You said it was bonded. You said it would find you anywhere. You said it was never going to stop. Silence. Mom, why did it stop? I don't know. Maybe I gave it enough. Maybe it's satisfied. You don't believe that. David, you told me things that feed get hungrier. You told me it was always going to get here. 30 years and it never skipped a night, and now it's been 2 weeks, and you think that's just fine? She doesn't answer. Mom, I'm coming there. Tomorrow. No. Mom, David, do not come to this house. Her voice shifts. That tightness, that control. The voice from the basement stairs. I am asking you clearly and directly. Do not come here. Why? Because I don't think it stopped feeding. I think it finished with me. And I think the only reason it's quiet is that it's waiting. Waiting for what? For you to come back. That was 3 days ago. I haven't slept properly since. I call my mother every few hours. She answers. She sounds fine. She sounds good. She sounds like herself, love, in a way that now terrifies me. Because I don't know if it's really her, or if whatever was being drained has been fully replaced by something else wearing her voice, like a comfortable old garment. I've been thinking about what she said. 7 steps, 30 years, never looked past the turn. She never saw it. She never went below the 7th step. She stood and she gave, and she came back up, and she never once confirmed what was down there. And I went all the way down, and I saw nothing. But here's what I keep coming back to. I saw nothing because I looked during the day. I looked with the lights on. I looked when it wasn't calling. And my mother never looked when it was calling, because she was afraid of what she'd see. What if there's nothing to see? Because it's not in the basement. What if the basement was just the direction it came from, and 7 steps was just the distance it hadn't crossed yet? What if 30 years of my mother standing on step 7 wasn't containment, but feeding? What if every night she stood there, she was giving it exactly what it needed to climb one fraction of an inch higher? What if the stairs weren't a barrier but a measurement, and 30 years was exactly how long it took to reach the top? What if it's been in the kitchen for weeks? What if that's why she sounds better? Not because it stopped feeding on her, but because it's right there now. Because the distance between them is nothing. Because it no longer has to pull her downward. Because it's already at ground level in the house. In the kitchen where my mother sits every day facing the window. Not looking through it, but at the reflection, at the room behind her, at whatever is standing in the room with her that she can only see in the glass. I'm sitting in my apartment. It's 2 a.m. I'm writing this because I need a record of these thoughts in case they stop making sense to me, in case I start to feel what she feels. That lightness, that ease, that everything is fine that might mean something terrible has already happened, and the terrible thing is quiet because it won. There's no basement below me. Nothing below me but concrete and machines and earth. But I said my name. I told it who I am. I told it I live here, even though I don't anymore. And maybe that doesn't matter, because I don't think it's in the basement anymore. I think it's in the kitchen, and my mother is there right now, sitting at the table, facing the window, looking at her own reflection with that tilted head, listening to something I can't hear from this far away. But the distance between here and there, this apartment and that house, 90 minutes by car, 60 miles, the full width of a mountain ridge. That distance feels shorter tonight than it did last week, and last week it felt shorter than the week before. And tomorrow night I am going to call my mother, and she is going to sound perfectly fine, and she is going to tell me not to visit, and I am going to obey because I'm afraid that she's right. But I'm also afraid she's not my mother anymore, and I'm afraid that doesn't matter. Because whatever she is now, she's the only one who knows my name the way she does, and when she tells me to stay away, I can't tell if it's protection or if it's the thing that ate her keeping its next meal. At a careful, patient, closing distance, the dry cleaner's machines are off. The street is quiet. My apartment is safe. But tonight, for the first time, I hear something beneath the floorboards. Not tapping, not a pull, just a sound, barely a sound, like someone breathing in slowly through a very long straw, drawing air downward, away from me, toward whatever direction down means now.